Hi, I'm Neil MacDonald. I run Megalithic tours, and we're here now on the Welsh island of Anglesey, on the banks of the Menai Strait, which is the small stretch of water which separates the island from mainland Wales, just over there. We're standing here underneath the fantastic Menai Strait Bridge, and from here we're going to set out on a circular tour around the island and visit its ancient and historical sites. Now, Anglesey used to be a stronghold for the Druids. That was until one fateful day in AD 60, when the Roman legions gathered on the shores across on the mainland there, and over here the Druids stood facing them ready for a battle. It was the Roman historian Tacitus who said that the sight of the Druids filled the Roman hearts with fear. But of course the Druids were no match for the Roman legions, and they just totally wiped them out, and that was basically the end of the Druids. But now this beautiful island is a holiday resort, and it attracts people from all over the world, and of course megalithic enthusiasts like us as well. So where a better place to begin our tour than Bryn Gwyn. This has got to be not the most prominent site on Anglesey, but one of the most prominent in Britain. Now the site here started its life as a henge with a stone circle built just inside it. You can still see the bank going round here. And then that was in the early Neolithic. Then later on in the Neolithic period, the ancients took the stone circle, moved it into the middle, and built this chambered tomb we can see here now. Now the chamber is actually aligned to the summer solstice sunrise. So when the sun rises at the solstice, it shines directly down the tunnel here into the main chamber. So here we are inside the chamber. Now the summer solstice sunlight will shine right down the entrance hall and light up this chamber. But then at the winter solstice, the sunset will shine through this back hall here, and it will land on this internal stone, which Rupert Soskin has said is a fossilised tree. And then when the sun goes over the horizon, it's followed by Venus, which will shine its light through about an hour later, and will also shine another beam of light on here. Now it's said that these two beams of light actually set the time, which is quite amazing really, because this is a clock that was set 5,000 years ago and still going now, but then of course it is solar powered. Just over to the west of Bryn Gwyn is this rocky outcrop. Now this is known as the Gorseth, or throne, and it would have been the original meeting place before the henge here was built. There's also a couple of other standing stones which lead off further to the west. This little mushroom-shaped cromlech here of Bodowyr is a wonderful place to visit after Megalithic, because Megalithic shows a completed tomb with its covering of earth and stones. And of course, the Bodowyrs lost all that, and its bare stones here lie open to the elements for millennia. So many years ago, when I first came to Anglesey and I was searching out the ancient sites here, I had no idea about this place, Castle Bryn Gwyn, but it's a fantastic henge to see. So let's go and have a look at it. Well, come on then. Castle Bryn Gwyn is a wonderfully formed henge. It's a bit of a shame about the house being built in the embankment over there, but to be honest, it doesn't really spoil the atmosphere here. Most importantly though, it's part of a much larger group of ancient sites. For instance, through the portal entrance here, a stone avenue used to head off in that direction until it met a huge stone circle, of which there are still 2 stones left to see. And these are those 2 stones. They're what remain of the huge stone circle called Bryn Gwyn Trefignath, which was at the end of the huge stone avenue that came from Castle Bryn Gwyn in that direction. They're of a male and female or lozenge and diamond design, and it would have been a huge stone circle here. In 1766, when Rawlinson visited here, he spoke of 4 stones still being in situ, and Aubrey Burle spoke of a huge stone circle surrounded by a massive bank. This is Holy Penmon. This was the area where St Seiriol settled in the mid-6th century with his friend St Cybi. Now St Seiriol was called St Seiriol the Fair, and St Cybi was St Seiriol the Dark. St Cybi made his hermitage and settled over right at the other side of the island in Holyhead, and St Seiriol, called St Seiriol the Fair, settled here. This is his well here, this is St Seiriol's well. There's actually a story how St Seiriol and St Cybi got their strange names. And it came from a time when they used to have a weekly meeting in the middle of the island. St Cybi would set off from Holyhead and head east towards the sun. Therefore he gets sun in his face all the way to meet his friend in the centre of the island, and at the end of the day he would head back towards the setting sun and get the sun on his face again. So he was called St Seiriol the Dark because of all the sun. And St Seiriol the Fair, of course, was heading in the other direction, never got any sun, and then they ended up with the name St Seiriol the Fair. Nothing more sinister than that. The well today stands within this 18th century brick structure, but St Seiriol's hermitage itself, you can still see the brick remains of it here. This is Penmon Priory, with the church over to the back. Now, the first structure actually stood here in the 10th century. It had been a wattle and daub structure, a wooden structure. But the main development actually came in the 1230s, when all the brick structures you see here with the dormitory, etc., was added. But let's go in and have a look around the church. So inside the church here at Penmon, there's a little museum at the back of the church. These are the two crosses that would have once stood outside in the yard. Also up on the wall here, there's a sheath and a gig. Also at Holy Penmon is one of the best built and preserved dovecots in entire Britain. It's built by Sir Richard Buckley in the year 1600, and it would have contained thousands of nests, supplying eggs and meat, which would have been invaluable, especially in winter. So we're heading northeast now, and we've come to the Lligwy area, where there are three ancient sites here, all separated by thousands of years, but with having something of a similar heritage. This is the Lligwy cromlech, a fine example of a cromlech, but quite unique because it's got a massive capstone. This weighs in at 25 tons here. The unusual feature here is that it probably was dug out of the ground, or the actual bedrock here, and then these side supporting stones were put in position, and this huge megalithic capstone was dragged on top. You can actually see the areas here that were cut out of the rock. They're sort of semicircular. This is where there would have been a cut made into the rock. There'd have been stakes hammered in, and then these would have been wettened to expand, to break the rock. But this is a fine example. There's also some folklore as well here. Now the story goes that there was a fisherman. He was returning home after a fishing trip. He got caught in a terrible storm. He saw the cromlech and thought, well, I'm going to go in here and get out of the weather. He found the stone bed, which is inside the chamber here. He fell asleep, and he fell into a deep sleep and had a dream. And in his dream, he found himself in a fishing boat in a terrible storm. And in the dream, he came across a beautiful maiden, and this maiden delivered him from the storm and rescued him. So he said to the maiden, how can I help you for rescuing me? And suddenly she turned into an ugly old crone and handed him a a skin of a snake and said, you have to wash this skin every year or else. And make of that what you will. This is the second site in the Lligwy area. It's a Lligwy Settlement. It's a magnificent site. It's surrounded by a really thick wall of about 4 foot thick. This is one of the 2 roundhouses here. There are also 1 or 2 square or rectangle enclosures, probably would have been barns, family enclosures, or one of them was actually, there was found the remains of a smithy in there under excavation. This was, the site was from probably the late Iron Age, maybe 200 BC, would have been a continuous occupation for hundreds of years. It's a magnificent, magnificent place. Probably one of the best in Wales. So our Lligwy time travelling experience has now taken us through 5,000 years. We began with the Lligwy Cromlech, then we went forward 3,000 years to the Lligwy Settlement, and then forward another 1,000 years to this Hen Capel Lligwy. It's probable that the people from the settlement above came down here and lived in wooden structures in this area, but again they've long gone. But there's memory here in the stonework, very similar in all 3 sites. The main Herrian standing stones are a unique site. I can't think of a triple stone site like this anywhere else. I wonder whether they're positioned here as a crossroads high up here on the northern hills of Anglesey, because there are stiles here in various places indicating it was at one point a place of tracks. It ended up being a meeting place for people who used to meet at the meeting of trackways. But this is a beautiful place, it really is, high up on the hills here. Holyhead has its own holy island, and we've just passed over the causeway onto the island now. It was the place where St Cybi first settled in the 6th century and built his hermitage and then the monastery. It's also got the county town of Holyhead on the island as well. Holyhead obviously being Holyhead, and also we've got the Holyhead Mountain as well, or the Holy Mountain. There are about 5 sites to see on Holyhead, and we're going to have a walk around them all now. There are many standing stones on Anglesey, and Tamar is in many ways just one of them, standing here as always, it seems, on Holy Isle, with Holyhead Mountain in the background, the Holy Mountain. But Tamar also marks the place of a bigger site, with Trefignath chambered tomb over in that direction. The Trefignath chambered tombs here has got to be one of the premier sites on Anglesey. It's still got its curbstones laying around it, which is an amazing feature. It's very much like the Presaddfed chambered tomb we're going to see in a while, except that hasn't got its curbstones. It's really good to see this. These would have once have covered the whole structure. There's obviously 3 chambers here. This is the first one. There are 2 more chambers. There's a central chamber here, and over and there's a 3rd chamber. And as usual, you've got the Holyhead Mountain in the distance. So between here and the Holyhead Mountain, you've got the standing stone we just looked at, the Tamar standing stone. Well, these 10-foot tall goalposts here are Penrhos Filw. They're framing the Holyhead Mountain in the background there. They're very much similar to the Giant's Graves on the south coast of Cumbria, and there the mountain in the background is Black Combe. You just wonder whether it's pointing the way to the Holy Mountain and from the sea, which is just behind us there. So these are the slopes of the Holy Mountain, Holyhead Mountain, and this is a place where ancient people settled up to 4,000 years ago, with some beautiful views over the sea there. This is one of the huts, a huge roundhouse here with really thick walls which would have kept the winter weather out. There's actually about 20 of these on the hillside here, out of an original 50. So let's go up and have a look round. There's also some square enclosures as well, which were probably for the storage of food. They used to catch fish, and they used to eat. They're very fond of limpets apparently, and they used to grind down the corn for bread. Let's go and explore. Colin burial chamber here seems to follow all the rules of a Welsh cromlech. It's got the 4 megalithic walls, it's got a huge capstone, but just seemed a little too set for me. It's definitely set in concrete. I don't know if it's heritage, and I'm not sure about this one. So now we're heading down the west coast from Holyhead, and we're here at Presaddfed Chambered Tomb. Now, all the chambered tombs or cromlechs on Anglesey have got their own kind of personality, and Presaddfed here is no exception. It's got 2 chambers, very much like its sister site Trefignath on Holyhead, just a couple of miles away from here. But here, all the capstones, the covering stones, are all gone. This is the main chamber here, and in the 18th century it's said that a family that had been evicted by a local landlord had to come and live in here. Amazing. This is the other chamber here, which you can see is totally collapsed now. So this dinky little cromlech is called Druid. It's got a wonderful panoramic view all around the coast here, but the capstone is absolutely huge. Unfortunately, it's had to be held up with a huge brick wall here which keeps it in position, but at least you can see the shape of it still. Now all its curbstones have now gone, but in the 19th century there was a record of it actually being still covered with curbstones, and it still was in its original mound shape. But it's definitely worth a visit. One of the less known sites, but definitely worth a visit. This is Barclodiad y Gawres chambered tomb. It's high up on the top of a peninsula here, and beautiful sea views again all around. Unfortunately, this dome is actually made of concrete. It isn't the original covering of the chambered tomb that lies inside. But the reason they built it is because inside here, in the old chambered tomb, is probably the best collection of carvings anywhere in Britain. There's various shapes like lozenges and diamonds, and very important site indeed. The church of St Cadwaladr here on the outskirts of Aberffrew has got to be one of the most visually pleasing of any in North Wales. The original name of the building was something like Anglesey, which meant wattle church, and this reflects the construction of the original building, which was constructed as a royal monastery around the year 615 AD. Now this area around here used to be the capital of the kingdom of Gwynedd. And inside the church, this is something that the church is famous for, is the plaque which is embedded in the wall, which is a memorial plaque of King Cadwaladr, who died in around 625 AD. This is King Cadfan's stone. The inscription reads, King Cadfan, the wisest and most renowned of all kings, lies here. This would have been the oldest section of the building. The altar would have been over here originally to the east. So here we are back at the Menai Straits. We've completed our circular tour of the ancient and historical sites of the beautiful island of Anglesey. If you enjoyed it and you want to come on a tour, please do join us on a megalithic tour very soon.